In order to be a true scientific theory, creationism would have to be falsifiable and have predictive power. Because it has neither, it must be thrown out of the scientific community. Welcome to questions at creationtoday.org. I'm Eric Hovind. Mateo writes in and asks, YEC, which means Young Earth Creationism, needs to be falsifiable and have predictive powers in order to have any use as a scientific theory. What predictions does the YEC model make that the standard model doesn't make? And how can we test them? What possible piece of evidence would falsify YEC? Well, Mateo, thanks for asking. Here's your answer. And for everyone else hearing, I want to know if you agree or disagree in the comments. But please, hear me out on this first, okay? It is important to note that YEC, a Young Earth Creation, is not merely a scientific model, but rather, much like the evolutionary dogma or evolutionism, is a historical model. It intends to tell us about the past. And just like evolutionism, it doesn't give us scientific principles which are intended to be applied to medicine and technology. Creation and the events in Genesis are the events in the past which cannot be directly observed or tested today. Just as Big Bang cosmology and evolutionism are about events in the past which cannot be observed or tested today. That said, it is possible to examine both of these historical models using modern science. Just as a cold case can be solved using existing evidence, even though the crime can't be observed today. For instance, evolutionism demands that DNA and the first cells created themselves with no designer, whereas creation says all of life was made by God. The predictions of evolutionism would be that it is possible, given the right conditions, that DNA could write itself and the first living cell could come together by chance and go from dead matter to a living, self-replicating cell. Biblical creation would predict that life would show signs of intelligent design. It was created by God. Irreducible complexity, created in fully formed and functioning ways, and have information, a pre-programmed set of instructions given by the Creator so that it could work. Now, which model's predictions fit the observations and the facts that we know today? Consider the simplest cell you can imagine. It needs a membrane, which is permeable so that there can be a controlled flow of substances in and out of the cell. Otherwise, it either starves for lack of whatever it eats, or it suffocates from the buildup of its own metabolic waste products. It also needs genetic material, DNA or RNA, which is arranged according to a language system, coding for the parts of the cell. It also needs protein machines to read the DNA and turn the coded instructions into actual parts of the cell. It also needs some method of turning available chemicals into energy, which its parts can use to do various jobs of eating, growing, self-repair, and replication. It needs the ability to replicate its DNA and any organelles it requires for survival. It needs to split into two living cells that both have the entire collection of DNA and organelles. It has to have all of these abilities and many more from the very first moment it comes into being. Now remember, all of these parts are coded for in the DNA. And also remember that the moment before the cell came to life, this collection of matter was just dead chemicals which didn't live or move or eat or replicate. Now, it should be obvious from even a grade school level look at cells and genetics that every living cell is a masterful work of engineering. It requires a brilliant designer. Atheists on social media like to pretend that the creation position is, I don't know how it works, so God must have done it. But the truth is, because we know how it works, and because we know the laws of physics and chemistry, we know God must have done it. Evolution requires the violation of all kinds of known and testable laws of physics, chemistry, biology, not to mention basic probability. I mean, information only comes from a mind, not from random chance. DNA is a language system full of information, just as the operating system in a computer is. Cells are complex systems of independent machines like an automated car factory or the space shuttle. And a single cell is more complex than anything ever built by man, including the space shuttle. So the idea that information and DNA in cell formation was able to violate testable and established laws of science for millions of years until they came to life is absurd. The more we learn about the universe, and especially the world of living things, the more we see that the only reasonable explanation is God, a brilliant, masterful designer that brought everything into being just as He describes in His Word. Now, there are many other arguments and evidences that show that the universe was made by God, and there are many more which show that it was made as described in the Bible. Obviously, we've only touched on one facet of the case for creation. But to the follow-up question, what possible piece of evidence would falsify young earth creation? Well, if Jesus returns and tells us we're wrong, then I would take Him at His word, since He was there when it happened at the beginning and I wasn't. But in terms of arguments and evidence from science that would disprove creation, well, I guess it wouldn't actually disprove creation, but I suppose you could prove evolution to be possible. All you'd have to do is disprove everything we know about physics and chemistry and the laws of thermodynamics and entropy and the way large molecules behave or react to the presence of water and absolutely everything we know about probability and basic math, so that complex information systems can come together by sheer accident instead of breaking down into simpler homogeny like science tells us it will. So if you can disprove all of science, well, then I'd say evolution has a chance. Now, do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comments. Hey, I want to take a second to thank the partners of Creation Today for making this video possible. If you'd like to partner with us in making more resources, visit us at creationtoday.org/partner. Hey, Mateo, thanks so much for your question and /statement. I hope this was helpful. If you have questions, send them in to questions@creationtoday.org. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. God bless you.